G'day folks, Pat Callinan here. Well, when it comes to big hitting 4x4 destinations, you don't tend to think of South Australia, but I'm going to show you a place this episode that just might change your mind. This is called the Eyre Peninsula, and it's a place that is an absolute 4x4 playground. It's got the beaches, it's got the dunes, and we've even found some pretty nifty rocky tracks. So jump on board as I show you around.
This episode I'm driving the V6 Ranger, with the Easy Trail Sojourner hooked on the back, a fitting van to tow on this Eyre Peninsula adventure. And to assist my towing exploits, I've got the Red Arc Tow Pro installed, along with a set of Clearview next-gen towing mirrors. And with a Long Ranger boosted 160 litre replacement diesel tank, fuel range will not be a problem. I'm also bringing along the Ford Everest, which will be driven by my social media guru and 4x4 photojournalist, Josh Leonard. Riding high on Outback Armour suspension and Cooper AT333s, she's built for this kind of country. The rear is outfitted with loads of goodies in the custom ORS storage system. We kick off at Darke Peak and then head coastal. Port Lincoln to the Sleaford Wanna dunes and on to beautiful Coffin Bay and Koodlie Park near Elliston, and then we'll finish up at Streaky Bay. We're starting our Eyre Peninsula adventure in and around the tiny village of Darke Peak. It boasts a few things, not the least of which is a sense of humour. Locals decided to build themselves the Hellbent Hotel one New Year's Eve for a giggle, so they could party out the front. But Darke Peak is better known for the hills that rise from the earth around her. They're the highest on the Eyre Peninsula, at over 400 metres above sea level. The name Darke Peak comes from John Charles Darke, who was a government-commissioned explorer. He was in this area in 1844 and was speared by local tribes and died the next day. So in his honour, the nearby peak was named.
As I'm getting closer to the peak, the rock formations are just getting better and better. You can see these layer upon layer of rocks as we climb further north and up into the altitude. The scenery out the side is amazing. You know, it is a little bit obstructed by the bush right now, and this is a tight track all the way, but this is just such a beautiful surprise to kick off our Eyre Peninsula adventure.
So Josh, what are your first impressions of the area around Darke Peak?
It's pretty special coming up through that field. It's not a road I've driven on before, and it made me a bit jealous that I wasn't out there taking photos myself, but I'm sure the boys nailed it, and these scenes are just going to get more and more spectacular as you continue along the Eyre.
Cool, mate. Looks like we've landed at a little lookout point here. Might jump out and have a look.
Let's do it.
There's a cool little plaque here, and even a visitor's book. But continue your ascent a little further, and the view gets even better.
Driving up this track was quite a strange experience. Because you've got these 360-degree views, you can see the weather pattern coming at you, hitting you, and then passing over when everything clears. It's quite strange. But the view when you hit the top is absolutely magnificent.
What a brilliant start to an Eyre Peninsula journey. If this is the beginning, I can't wait to see what comes next.
And we are nice and chock-a-block. So it might just look like I'm filling up my caravan, which I am, but when you do that, you've really got to consider where that weight lies in your caravan, because 1 litre of water weighs roughly 1 kilogram. So if you've got a tank like this one that's around about 90 litres, that's 90 kilograms of weight that is really going to change how this whole unit tows. So this Easy Trail Sojourner at the moment, she's got a tank behind the axle and it's got another one in front of the axle. If we were to play around with this and say, for example, leave the rear one full and the front one empty, that is going to change the ball weight of our caravan, and it's going to change the towing characteristics significantly. It might end up wagging the dog a little bit more, so wagging the tail essentially, and possibly getting into a bad pendulum motion as we're going along the road. So another idea might be to actually drain those 2 tanks equally so we don't change those characteristics. But it's not quite as simple as that. If, for example, I've got those front storage boxes really heavily laden, well, I might be able to get away with having a full tank in the back. Likewise, if I want to put a little bit more weight on the ball, then I might just want to keep that front tank nice and full and empty the rear one first. It really does depend on your tow vehicle, your towing weights, and also the balance of that vehicle on the road, and simply how it feels to tow. Incidentally, when it comes to having water and filling up those tanks, if you are new to caravanning and off-roading, make sure that you use one of these food-safe hoses because they won't make your water taste like plastic. And also consider using a water filter when you're filling up those tanks, because often when we're out on the road in the outback, we're filling it up from sources that we don't quite know where that water is coming from and just how healthy it is. So make sure you get a filter that not only filters for taste, but filters for bacteria as well.
From Darke Peak, I hightailed it towards the coast and the beautiful town of Port Lincoln. The rich and pristine waters off the southern coast here create a pescatorial paradise. And while some come to fish and to eat, I actually came to admire the creatures of the deep.
Well, the day has come. I have had massive anticipation for this day for probably the last 25 years. For some, I don't know, idiotic reason, I have wanted to swim with great white sharks. But now it's here, gotta say, I'm sort of having second thoughts. It's windy, it's blowy, it was even blowing 50 knots out there in the deep last night. So I don't know what today's gonna be like. It could be triumphant, it could be awful. We'll see.
But before we head to the deep waters, the crew of Calypso had somewhat of a warm-up swim in mind.
Well, before we go after the great whites, we're going to do something a little bit more tame. We are at an island now that is absolutely full of sea lions. So we're going to go and have a look.
It took a little time for the Aussie sea lions to get comfortable, but soon enough, they were in their usual playful mood.
Gee, that was a lot of fun. But as you're bobbing around in this beautiful turquoise water, seeing these wonderful creatures, you're blissfully unaware of the fact that they are actually the main diet of the great white shark. Hopefully the ones I see next are well fed. Well, we're leaving the smaller boat behind and we're now on the mothership. As you can see, this is the big shark dive cage. So folks, it's starting to get real.
After the break, it's a great white encounter and some incredible tracks. But during the break, grab your free download of the Mr 4x4 app. With 15 years of 4x4 knowledge and adventures, it'll help guide your next adventure.
This trip just turned a lot more adventurous. The seas, this is probably the biggest sea that I've ever actually been in. There's people throwing up downstairs. And wow, this is exhilarating. I'm enjoying it though.
You find me miles off the coast of South Australia and perched between two islands. That lovely gentleman is tossing fish guts into the drink in the hope that they may lure, well, something other than seagulls. These cool waters are home to white pointer sharks, some of which weigh over 2.2 tonnes. But these are wild animals, so there's no guarantee the monsters will be in town when we are.
Very common to have more than one shark around at a time, so while you're paying attention to one, another one can surprise you from somewhere else. So you stay right inside the cage, holding onto the railing here.
Anticipation is high at the moment, and we're going to be first into the cage for the day, but it looks like there's a little bit of action out there already, so it should be good. Weight belt on to hold me down in the cage, and we'll see how we go.
It's game on. The big guys have turned up for a feed.
On the back side. That's the way, spin around. That's all right, isn't it?
Lucky I'm wearing a wetsuit, or we might have some brown burley in the water. As it is, the water is incredibly clear here, with massive schools of fish attracted by our presence. And then, appearing seemingly out of nowhere, the great white shark. Beautiful, amazing.
What an amazing experience. That was just incredible to see these giants coming from the deep. I think I was expecting some manic, crazy thing to come out and things, but they were just so graceful and imposing. It was, wow. It's just starting to sink in what I was actually seeing under the water there. The big guy, over 5 meters long, and the guys here reckon that he weighs over a ton. Just incredible. The clarity in the water was amazing, far better than what I thought it would be, and giant school of trevally just in your face the whole time, kingfish dancing near the surface. It's just an amazing experience, hard to believe. But bloody freezing.
Just outside of Port Lincoln lies the Lincoln National Park. With beautiful beaches and good roads, it's an ideal getaway for a camp. But as you often find, the best camps are the secluded ones off the beaten track. I opted to take the rocky and at times muddy track out to McLaren Point. It's roughly an hour's drive out of Port Lincoln, and the final few kilometres are slow going, but good fun. And then we arrive. Can you believe this place? We have it all to ourselves. An elevated waterfront camp with turquoise waters of the Southern Ocean at our doorstep. Just plain paradise. But it seems the ants knew better than me. Rain was coming.
It's like a light storm to be yours. Thunder crashing till the sky's torn. You're like a light storm, a light storm.
But down here on our southern coast, the weather doesn't stay bad for long, and soon enough the sun drenched us once more. Then it was time to top up the belly tank, have a quick look around and hit the dirt once more.
Well, this next place I am visiting is one of those places that if I've got international visitors or if I am personally within 500, 1,000 kilometers of this joint, then I'm coming in right through the gates because it is a really, really special experience.
Josh and I are catching up with Helen from Micra Station. It's a place that's renowned for having one of the most dense populations of koalas in Australia. Oh, and when I say dense, I don't mean they're thick, I mean there's a lot of them.
So, Helen, how did these lovely little furry critters come to be here at Micra?
In the early 1970s, Parks and Wildlife staff brought 5 koalas over here from Kangaroo Island because here there are the manigum trees, which are the koala's favourite tree to eat and live in.
Okay, so there was 5 originally. What are we looking at now?
Several hundred. They have bred up really well and spread out all around lower Eyre Peninsula. But luckily they're still quite concentrated with their population here at Micra Station and they're quite easy to see.
What's happened to their breeding? Are they inbred or?
Well, yes, I imagine that they are, but Flinders University came over here and did a genetic assay of the koalas and found them to be extremely healthy, and inbreeding must suit them because they don't have any genetic problems.
I think what blows me away is just how, I guess, concentrated they are on the property. That it's, you know, pretty much with wildlife, it's hard to have a guaranteed sighting, whether it's a great white shark or as you find down here, or many other animals. But here it's kind of guaranteed, isn't it, that if you look hard enough, you're probably going to find one.
Yes, absolutely. It's probably the best. All people say that it's the best place to come and see koalas.
So Helen, aside from the koalas, what other attractions are around here? I heard a little rumour that there was perhaps some ruins.
Yes, the early settlers that came here built some buildings out of the limestone that just occurs naturally here, and there is remains of buildings and stone walling that they used to use for fencing before they had, you know, barbed wire posts.
And what about the cottage? There's a beautiful little cottage that I saw when I was here last time.
Yes, well that is the one part of the ruins that we restored in 1980 to stop it from falling down and to show people, you know, what it would have looked like, give kids an idea what it might have been like to live in 1840.
The other great thing about Micra Station is the fact that it's open to campers. There are loads of sprawling grassy campsites and even some hot showers, so you'd be mad not to spend the night.
Look at this big guy. These manigum trees, they grow quite low, so Naturally, the koalas hang quite low on the trees and you can just get so up close and personal to them. It is just amazing. The density, you just don't find this density of koalas anywhere else in Australia. Where's he gone? He's doing a runner over the red dirt now.
After the break, I'll show you some of Australia's best coastal tracks.
We're heading into the sand dunes now, and these sand flags are pretty essential in this country because they are like an early warning system for other vehicles, because you can't often see when you are popping over a sand dune, but if you've got one of these, you're giving that other person a second or two to see that you're coming. But you don't want to forget these little attachments. These are called pirate clips. Arr. They're R clips. Sorry, dad joke. There we go. I was just over there airing down the tyres and I spied this absolutely magnificent shrub. Just look at it. It is just an explosion of pink. Let's see. Ooh, it's got a nice, mild, sweet little scent too. If you know what it is, send us an email at mr4x4.com.au because I'd love to know more about this. Man, it is just an absolute garden around here. Okay, so I have just activated sand mode, and interestingly, the rear differential lock has been activated as well, which I wouldn't normally do, but I'm going to trust in the tech and see how we go. Well, straight away into some gorgeous white sand. Oh man, the beauty, the sheer beauty of this place. Hey Josh. Gotta say, mate, we are 10 seconds in. How beautiful is this?
As soon as we popped over that first little dune on the entrance, I literally just said it's spectacular. It's a really lovely part of the world, and we're just starting to see the ocean over on the right-hand side. How good!
Oh man, it is so good, isn't it? And I just love, like, I mean, there's a few tracks around here, and this is a popular place if you are from Port Lincoln, but you know, there's so few tracks compared to what you might find on the East Coast dunes.
It's, you know, we were chatting last night and I was saying it's not the terrain I'd expect to see in South Australia, not necessarily what I relate to South Australia. It's, I'm getting big Fraser Island vibes, and you know, we're a lot further away from it than we should be on the East Coast, so it's a great place.
Except that you can drive on the sand dunes, which you can't do on Fraser Island, so it's in some ways even better.
It's a well-kept secret, and you're right, you can't do the sand dunes there, and you can here. So it's a good bit of wheeling that a lot of Aussies don't get to do enough. So it's great to see that they're still open, and we still get to enjoy them.
And can I just say, how gorgeous is the colour of that water down there, and how white is this sand?
Yeah, it's again a fantastic part of the world. It just looks incredible, and an even better view, I got to say, watching the ranger push through, coming around these sand dunes and along the beach. It's a great place.
When it comes to navigating around this area, it's really not that difficult because the tracks are, I wouldn't say well maintained, but they are very well defined. So you can pretty much just keep half an eye on your GPS, work out where the ocean is, and scoot in and out. Now there is a mixture of rock driving, so there's some good bumpy entrance tracks, and basically you can sort of duck in and out all the way up and down the coast. So we're talking beaches, dunes, rocky tracks, very hard to get lost, very easy to have a bloody good time.
One thing that I would definitely recommend to combat the glare on the sand dunes and to allow you to really see those undulations is a good set of polarized sunnies. I'm wearing Tonics, it's one of my sponsors, and I've got to say they are the finest sunglasses I have ever used. They stop glare coming in the back, obviously through the front, and they use proper glass lenses that don't scratch up and don't fall out like the cheap ones. They are an absolute godsend in this sort of country. Oh, a bit of a side angle here we got, Josh.
That is quite the lane you're on there, but handling it well. I've just pushed my mirrors in, looking after what you did, and I'm just pushing through now.
Yeah, thank God I've got a vinyl wrap on this thing. What a great spot to stop. Crack open the bushwhacker awning and have a mung on some wraps. And the view? Bloody perfect. This was also the final resting place of a massive whale that washed up here some time ago. After the break, we have our first bogging victim. And during the break, don't forget to download the Mr. 4x4 app with its free 7-day trial and every popular Aussie 4x4 track, a must for your next adventure. You find Josh and I on the Sleaford dunes of the Eyre Peninsula. We're midway through our journey and are exploring the snazzy bits of coastline between Port Lincoln and Ceduna. Josh, my man, my sunnies are on and we're heading into some serious stuff now, mate.
Well, it's just opening up for us, isn't it? And it's just a sea of sand dunes and actual ocean as well.
Hey, let's go high first, eh?
Definitely. I just saw the sign for these sand boards. Not only do we forget the fishing rods, but we've got sand boards as well.
Yeah, can't say I care at the moment. I'm having a blast. This is so beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, I dare say this is a whole lot more fun than sandboarding. 2 V6 turbo diesels. It's about all the power you need up here.
Sounds terribly cliched, but I mean, this is why we buy the vehicles that we buy, that you can drive them to the shops and then just go, no worries, just don't mind cruising straight up a sand dune, if I don't mind.
It's times like this when I begin to wonder why anyone owns a vehicle that isn't a four-wheel drive.
Ooh, this is a bit sketchy here. You could get stuck in one of these bowls down here. I'm going to have to power it around here, I think. Hopefully I can make it out. Ooh, just stayed on the high side of that one.
Jeez, it looked good doing it. Here we go, I'll have a go too. And it's not going as well for me. Might be a good time to get the Exy tracks.
He may have done himself a mischief, folks.
That's proper stuck. Might not have a job after this.
You've done it well, whatever you've done.
I've done myself a bit of a mischief, haven't I? I was thinking, well, I was sitting in there, it was going to be a simple snatch job, but
Oh my goodness.
it may not be.
That's well and truly buried.
I underestimated the my ability driving, but also how hard or soft the sand might be.
Yeah, so this is really deep, guys, and when it comes to recovery like this, that is, well, he's bogged it basically up to the top of the tyre. I guess if you're going to use a snatch strap, I'd really recommend hub height or lower in terms of getting bogged, because when you're talking about a snatch strap, giant elastic band, and there's going to be shock pressure, and essentially that shock pressure is going to hit a sand brick wall, and we don't want to do that. So a slower, more measured way of getting out of something like this is to pull the winch out. So we're going to grab the VRS and give it a crack.
So it was out with the synthetic rope, pop on the cable dampener, and given there are most certainly no trees around here, we'll use the ARB Summit rear bar as our recovery point.
Now we're putting the cable dampener right up this end because this is where the heavy stuff is in this recovery. We've got a heavy hook, we've got a heavy shackle, and if those were to break, highly unlikely mind you that they will, but if they do, then this cable dampener is designed to keep things low to the ground and stop things flinging off into the air or even possibly through a windscreen, because there's a lot of pressure built up here, and if they break, that could possibly happen. Now, when it comes to these parts, particularly this shackle, make sure you use a proper rated, safety rated bow shackle. Don't ever try those hardware store shackles. They will and do break, and they turn into missiles that could really hurt someone.
Rightio, Pat, you ready to get this thing out?
Absolutely, mate. I've got my brakes on, so hopefully I won't go anywhere, and bring it on in.
No worries, well I'll take mine off then, and let's see if we can get this sucker out.
Oh, there's a hell of a load on that winch at the moment. It's literally pulling my car backwards.
It's going to be a real test for the VRS, but I'm sure it's got it in it.
Just try and drive it a bit, mate. Give it a hand.
And once Josh was out of his dilemma, it was time to blow the sand off on a run to the beach. Get a load of that water. No, this is not the tropics. This is South Australia.
I could spend so much time on this Sleaford Wanna four-wheel drive track, but I want to leave a little bit for you. So next up, I'm going to show you another favourite spot of mine, Coffin Bay National Park. First, I'm going to pick up a caravan.
Coffin Bay sits on the must-see list of Aussie tourers. Whether for the delicious Coffin Bay oysters or the marvellous scenery, either is a noble reason to arrive in town. My reason to visit is to explore the National Park, a jewel in the South Australian crown.
When you enter the Coffin Bay National Park, there is a nice stretch of winding bitumen, and off that are a number of campsites that you need to pre-book before you come. But then the good stuff starts and the bitumen disappears and the dirt begins, and that is when you get campsites that are far less populated and far more remote.
Caravans aren't recommended in the further reaches of the park, so I dropped the easy trail at the Big Yangi campground and headed north with Josh tailing in the Everest.
This little series of waterholes is called Lake Jessie, and at this time of year it's not too bad, but it can get a lot deeper, so be very careful when you are crossing here. Don't assume that you can cross this any time of the year, and that is getting a little bit deep already. I've got the snorkel, so I'm not too concerned. It's nice and short.
Jesus, bloody stunning. And bloody soft.
Sand's not particularly hard here, is it, Josh?
I was just saying it's a bit soft, but I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to put the pedal down a bit more just to keep going further.
If only diesel was 15 cents a litre, hey?
Takes us back to the good old days, the very, very old good old days.
I just love the flavour of this place. I mean, how different it is to where we were on. So we're on the dunes and the rocks and the white sands. This has got the yellowy sands, and then you look off and you see, I don't know, it almost looks like some rolling Scottish countryside over there to, you know, northeast over there.
Yeah, 100%. When we popped through that sort of gateway to this beach, that's exactly what I was thinking. And This whole trip I've sort of been seeing, you know, places, obviously we know where we are, but there's so many places that just look like different countries and different worlds.
But this place is not without its dangers.
Even with low tyre pressures and low range, sometimes when you stop on a beach like this that is really soft and sandy, it can be very hard to get going again, and that's traditionally when us four-wheel drivers can tend to get in a bit of a pickle. But there's a little way around it that you need to know. Have a look behind me there, and there's a nice gradient that we can actually work with. We never want to stop our vehicles on the flat or pointing uphill because it just makes it too hard for them to take off again. We want to park them where possible on the downhill, and it's as simple as hooking a bit of a left turn and then parking them on the downhill and letting gravity do the hard work when we want to take off again. So then we don't need to grab the exit tracks.
Coming up, if this isn't 4x4 paradise, I'm not sure what is. I'm exploring the northern reaches of the Coffin Bay National Park and venturing up its eastern coastline.
Coffin Bay National Park juts out from the mainland, and it's a low-lying stretch of land that's made up of sand and rocks and a lot of beauty, which I will show you right about now. And as I drive down onto the beach, I have found a beautiful Coffin Bay day. This is why we buy these cars. What a gorgeous, gorgeous sight. You cannot get enough of that sort of stuff. Driving up a beach with water that colour is a rarity the world over. Yet in Australia, we've got a lot of it. But in South Australia, well, they're just plain old greedy. They've got a truckload of the stuff. Time and time again in my four-wheel driving pursuits, I have been rewarded for going the extra mile, and this is one of those times. The drive up through the Coffin Bay National Park, it's nice, it's pretty enough, but it's really not the most amazing drive that you will get. So the temptation is often pull over, make camp, don't go any further, turn around, go back. It's not great. Keep on going, continue on, burn that little bit of extra diesel, and it will take you to a place like this.
While cruising up the beach, I spotted something out of the ordinary.
Places beautiful as this, you kind of forget that it is one of nature's highways. And here's an example of that highway that goes up and down the coast there. This is a whalebone, and it's quite impressive. Oh, hang on a second. This actually looks like it's the bottom jaw structure of an absolutely massive whale. You know how they open their giant mouths up, feed the krill right through? Wow, what an absolute giant.
What an absolutely gorgeous slice of South Australia. Just north of Elliston sits a farm stay called Koodlie Park. It's a character-filled bush camp with some basic amenities and a camp kitchen. I've been here before, but Josh has not, so I'm taking him for a gander.
Pat, mate, we're on a farm rolling through a paddock. We've just gone through a gate. I'm really starting to wonder where you're taking me.
Mate, it definitely looks like a random track, and it kind of is. Not very well travelled, as you can see, but I think as you drive up this Eyre Peninsula, you're often sort of hugging the coastline and you're looking out at these farms that have these amazing sand dunes and incredible coastlines, but you can't access them. But this is one spot where they actually allow you to access the coastline right through their property, and we'll wait and see what we see at the end of this this little dirt track, mate. I think you might like it.
No way, so we're heading back to the water through a private property, and this is open to everyone?
Yeah, well, I think it's open to anyone that stays at Koodlie Park anyway, which and why wouldn't you? I mean, I like it because it's, most of us travellers come pretty well self-sufficient, but if you can grab a shower or use a loo, then that's great. But it's got that really relaxed atmosphere there that bush campers like us absolutely adore. So it's a great place to stay, but if you have the inside goss, then they'll let you know the good tracks out the back.
Yeah, well, thanks to Koodlie Park for giving us the download. I can't wait to see where this track leads. If it's as good as you say, I think I'm going to be stoked.
Well, some people, they get excited by big red sand dunes or outback roads. I get excited by a single lane track and a cocky's gate, because usually it means there's something good up ahead. Little quick tip though, always leave the gates the way you found them.
This is not the place you expect to drive and see big cliffs, white caps to your left, and then a caravan in front of you.
No, the Sejuna loves it, doesn't it? It's it just kind of plods along behind, going, yeah, whatever, off I go. And I mean, it could also be a nice little refuge in this sort of weather, so you can still sit there and look at the ocean view and not be battered by those 80km/h winds outside.
Exactly, it's a plucky and cunning little thing. It's just plodding along, like you said, right behind you, like a faithful little steed. And you're right, it'll provide a safe spot to get out of the wind and make a cuppa soon, so it's a great thing.
For sure, we might actually try and find a nice place to stop and do just that.
Yep, I'm down.
One day my feet make it on the TV and I get done for wearing odd socks.
Might want to take that one up with the wardrobe department, eh?
Yeah, absolutely, if there was one. Well, she's blowing a gale out there, isn't it? Can you hear that?
Considering how heavy it is, we're pretty safe in here, I reckon.
Tell you what, this view is like the full $1 million view. I reckon Easy Trail should set up a bit of an Airbnb business, plonking vans around cliffs around the Eyre Peninsula.
They'd make a mint, especially, in weather like this, you get to enjoy them when it's sunny and when it's not.
But as quick as the weather came in, it was off again and blue skies appeared.
There's just so much down here, and so many Aussies just miss this slice of Australia because it is a detour. Someone's going across a Nullarbor, and that's a long enough drive in itself, and then they've got to chuck a left and do an even longer detour. But isn't it funny what people are missing? Probably one of the best slices of southern Australia is just a short detour off the main drag.
I don't know if it's even one of the best slices of southern Australia. I'm just going to go ahead and call it. It's probably one of the best slices of Australia. Certainly one of the best I've wheeled in.
And being so remote, there's very few humans to get in the way of Mother Nature. The Aussie sea lions certainly love it down here. Still to come, one of the jewels in the Eyre Peninsula crown. We're back on the bitumen for a few kilometres now and headed towards one of the genuine highlights of this region, Streaky Bay.
When you're driving these outback highways, overtaking is really an essential skill that you need to have under your belt before you hit the road. It's a little bit different to just overtaking up the M1. When we're touring, whether it's in a motorhome, a fully loaded 4x4 or with a caravan on the back, you're often dealing with far different dynamics. You're dealing with
taller vehicles, heavier vehicles, longer vehicles, and all of those things need to be taken into account because those vehicles are more affected by wind. It is a real skill that we do need to master, and particularly when you're sharing the road with things like semi-trailers that can push massive walls of wind that can really affect the dynamics of your vehicle. So how do you gain those skills? Well, there is a new website called rvsafe.com.au. It's a free resource, government funded, and it tells you from start to finish a whole host of different touring tips, from using weight distribution systems to overtaking, all sorts of stuff that's going to keep you safe on the road for your next adventure. So check it out, it really is a great resource, rvsafe.com.au. Every South Australian knows the town of Streaky Bay, but most other Aussies are blissfully unaware of its existence. And on a day like today, with the mirror-like finish on the bay and the jetty welcoming one and all to her pleasures, I think her secret may be out. This is coastal bliss. This trip has not been short on adventure and a little bit of adrenaline. I mean, diving with great white sharks, driving along cliff tops, dropping sometimes precariously off big old sand dunes on the Eyre Peninsula. It's been awesome. So I thought I'd calm things down a little bit and finish off with a beautiful scenic drive just out the back of Streaky Bay. This is called the Cape Bower Loop, and you just wait, she's pretty gorgeous. First stop is a beach that I just had to check out.
She's nice and calm out there today, but on a good day, massive swells roll in here, and often they hold big wave surfing championships here. They will have 10 to 15 metre swells rolling in, and surfers will fly in from all around the globe to this sleepy little slice of the Eyre Peninsula.
And just a few kilometres up the road sits a natural phenomenon that is super cool. A short walk down the stairs and a quick look at the view, and we're there.
These rocks here, looks like nothing, nice little hole. Let's throw my... Mate, how's that?
Oh, how's the pressure?
That's awesome, isn't it?
Mate, that is a good party trick. Not what I was expecting, but I think this is better.
It is, it is. I tracked it down last time, but how's the pressure coming out of that?
Oh, incredible. And out of the small, you know, you look around, there's hundreds of holes.
What a fun way to finish an adventure on the Eyre Peninsula.
As Aussies, we buy these adventure machines so that we can get away from it all, from other people, but often when you go to those four-wheel drive destinations, they're so popular that they can become a little bit crowded. But down here in the Eyre Peninsula, that's just not a problem. Unless, of course, you consider crowding the number of great white sharks, koalas, Australian fur seals, emus, all the natural stuff that we love to see as Aussie four-wheel drive tourers. I really hope you can get down here and experience it for yourself sometime soon. I'm Pat Callinan, and until next time, keep the shiny side up.